Welcome. My name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is Human Relationship Management, Session 7. You're either taking me online, face-to-face, or in a hybrid class in one of the colleges that I'm teaching at, or in a workshop that I'm doing. Today we're going to be talking about training employees, part of HR perspective. How does HR is involved within the training of all employees? Remember, HR is a major component for all the different disciplines, small and large companies. They have an input to make sure that the employees are trained fairly, equitably, and that the training mechanism is not discriminatory, and it does have a training that has quality and training that can be measurable. After the person is trained, he or she has acquired these skill sets that is important. That's why you're training individuals. So let's talk real quickly on this chapter. I'm going to move over here, and let's get a real quick overview of the session. And I'll just make this just a touch bigger here. Now that we're going. Okay. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how to link training programs to organizational needs. Remember, part of training, you just don't train employees because you have nothing else to do with the employees. Because when you're training employees, it's taking away from productive work. So training is to increase productivity, efficiency, or quality. Explain how to assess the need for training. And see, and a lot of times it could be rejection rate or poor customer satisfaction. Something that's triggering one of the organizational goals that the organization cannot achieve, or one of the mission of the organization that it cannot achieve because the employees are trained poorly. Let's see if I got customer service on main focus, and we have the lowest customer service in the industry. There's something wrong with our training program. How to plan an effective training program, compare widely used training methods, evaluate successful training programs, and describe training methods for employees' orientation and diversity management. All this ties in with HR. HR is, I know how what I need to train my employee, but HR brings in there the soft skills, the diversity, the different kind of the emotional intelligence to the training program. Okay, so let's see what training is. Training for organizations. When I look at planned effective efforts to help employees acquire job-related knowledge, skills, abilities, and behavior. That's what you train. For the organization, we train employees so they could have these skills, abilities, and behavior that makes our organization effective. Okay, applying these on the jobs, training can benefit the organization when it's linked to organizational needs and when it motivates employees. Part of the whole training process is to motivate employees to do a better job or do a quality work that I'm paying him or her for. Links to modern business, I'm looking at environment, makes training is important. With a lot of companies, when profitability goes down, the first thing they stop is the marketing and training. Those are the two aspects that you need to increase on. You need to increase on training and you increase on your advertising. Rapid change requires employees continues to learn new skills. I mean, you don't want them to learn like 50 skills at once. So part of an effective training with HR is to always give small stuff. I know the training's coming. There's a new idea. There's a new thing coming into the skill set the employee has. So I'm just adding one more dimension to that skill set the employee has. Okay, teamwork. Part of the training, when I look at training with HR, is teamwork. Most individuals now, you're looking at collaborative learning and collaborative work spaces, so you have to work together as a team. So ability that requires formal training. Sometimes you train the whole team, other times you train individuals, and they bring that training or that new knowledge to the team, and then they basically are the catalysts or the yeast of that new knowledge, and they spread it out and they share it with other individuals. So there's different ways how you could utilize training. Okay, instructional training. When I look at instructional design, you have to look at training. When I come up with new training programs, you try to get individuals who have the ability, the skills, and the educational background to do the training. So they basically are looking at training to meet specific needs, objectives, and outcomes, for lack of a better word. So I need someone to here's how I train it, not just expect that everyone could train, because a lot of individuals understand the concepts and have that working knowledge, but don't understand how to transfer that knowledge to another individual. And then you look at effectiveness, designed to teach the skills. What do I really want the person to learn after he or she finishes the training, or behaviors that achieve the organizational goals? And HR approaches training with this in mind. Okay? Now, different stages of training that all companies have to go assess the training needs. First, I must understand that there's a need for the training. Ensuring readiness for the training. Make sure you have if there's any kind of prerequisites or put the right mindset. Why are we being trained? We already know this stuff. No, here's a new twist to it. Here's a new change in the laws or the regulations or the specification. Here's something new with the technology. That's why you need the training. Tell them the objective, the trainers, and the methods. So the individual knows up front what he or she's expected. Training, implementing the training programs, evaluating. So now I implement a training program, and now all the individuals are trained. Has the skill set been transferred adequately to this individuals, and could I measure that? That yes, these individuals now didn't have the skill set, but now they're operating at 65%, where before they were operating at 15%. So there's an increase. Over time, they will be more proficient as they get more used to the new skills that we just trained them. Okay, learning management systems. So when I'm looking at learning management systems, a computer application. When you're looking at this is kind of like a learning management system. Some of you, if you're taking me, are using McGraw-Hill Connect, or using different kind of software as a learning management to help the individual learn at home or on a computer or the workstations. Okay, link to and it's basically training needs, training outcomes, and reward. Anything I do with the computer, any kind of software, it's really measurable because I could tell the individuals when he or she is doing the task, is it right or wrong. It gives them answers depending on how the parameters I set the software for, and it gives them instant feedback so they could adjust, and the software could adjust another set of questions if they did not achieve these. Those of you who have done the CATME, the comprehensive assessment of team members' effectiveness. When you did the evaluation, the training evaluation, if you evaluated people very poorly, just giving us 5 people evaluate to you at least got to proficiency level. And those are some of the training management systems that are out there. Okay, needs assessment. You got to look at the needs assessment. The process of what are the first needs of the organization, what are the individual employees' needs, what are the tasks, and to determine what kind of training, if there's necessary. You have to answer these 3 questions. First, you look at the organization, you look at the person, and you look at the task. And then the training process should cover all those 3 components, okay? Now you're looking at the organizational analysis. Determine the appropriateness of the training. How do I train? I train engineers differently than I maybe train hourly workers. Because different tasks. They may have to have an on-hands. Other ones just could take their training, read, just in addition to the knowledge, or they could see a video, or they have to have on-hands training. And then always you have to look at the evaluation, the characteristics of the organization, the strategies, the resources for ability. If I look at evaluating some governmental evaluation, I have to actually prove that this person is proficient without a doubt. Okay, person analysis, deficiencies. Is the person adequate to take the training? Does she or she have to have some refresher courses? Do I have to get some other classes to prepare that individual? Okay, who needs the training? Not everyone may need the training, or do you want as a refresher for all? So brand new employees will have a more intense training. Other employees have been in the process. It's more of a refresher type of training. There's no reason to have them go through a 3-hour or a 3-week training when what they've been doing with the task is just here's what's new, or here's something just to remind you of the procedural way of doing it. And then also the task. Analyzing tasks to be trained, and look at the conditions where the training is being taken. Readiness for training, again, the definition, readiness. Is the person ready to take the training? You have to put them in a mindset. Is the management? Some individuals, a lot of times you may want to have the individual work in the process for a while before you send them to the training or send her to the training, so they understand, now I understand why we do it this way. Or a lot of times you could have the training up front, but they never saw the process, so it may be confusing. I'm just giving a lot of stuff, but they never did the on-hands portion. And sometimes you may use a combination of both. So training is something else. You need almost an expert, someone who knows how to train, takes the knowledge and looks at the employees, and it has to be adjusted depending on the readiness of the employees, okay? Different characteristics of the employees. Some have a favorable attitude, some have a motivation to learn, others basically don't have that. The environment, you take them out of the work environment, put them in a good bright color, give them lunch, provide them that other camaraderies of individuals, that motivation, so they want to learn. Okay, so training has that. Planning a training program, what are the objectives, why are we retraining, what are the outcomes, what do you want to learn, and effective objective, you have a statement so the individual know, here's where I'm taking the training. I will be proficient in this case, how to train employees. Here's how I can measure. Most employees that train have a retention rate of 60, 70%, whatever. They identify the different components of that, or whatever you decide is critical for the person. Once they finish the training, that means they should be able to at least accomplish a task, maybe not at the expert level, but at the beginning. They know how to enter the data. They know how to do something, how to manipulate the data, how to calculate the data. Okay? Okay, categories and trainings. You could go presentation, hands-on, group building. A lot of times a team, you build a team up together, selected by each, different techniques, application, examples and training. You could do audio-visual training. You could do computer-based training. It's very popular. On-the-job training. When you do on-the-job training, you have to make sure that the person who's doing the training has the ability, because the person who's training, he or she's been trained wrong. You're just passing on even worse going forward. Case studies. A lot of times in college you have case studies, especially management, HR. Because remember, when you're looking at these disciplines, you are basically coming up with a solution and a resolution to something you haven't done. You get to after the fact. And most as a manager in HR, it happened, and now you have to find, how do I resolve this issue, or how do I make sure this issue doesn't happen again? Behavioral modeling, experimental, team training, and action learning. These are different examples of training. I'm going to move along. I'm taking a little time. Computer-based training, e-learning. You have electronic networks, training links, and you have McGraw-Hill and Pearson. They basically not only do the academic that most of you are familiar with here at the college or any kind of my training workshops, but you also have a whole section that they do for the for the business section and training. Okay, and then you have basically, if I look at this one, is electronic performance support systems. After they did a training, they could give them the feedback and any additional training they need, information, expert help. When a problem occurs on the job, they could always go back to the training manual and say, here's a scenario, here's how you resolve it. You can even watch a video of someone actually doing the training. A lot of people like the videos because it's like a YouTube. A lot of times I want to fix something. I read the manual, but I look I go to YouTube, or like you're doing here, and I'll see the person actually taking the task and taking the wheel off, and I can say, oh, now I can see it. He's hitting it here, so I can see how he or she does it, that it could be attainable. So it's a very powerful tool. So remember, computer-based very training, on-the-job training. Be careful who you're training at, and sometimes on-the-job training, if you have a person that is training a person on the job, remember it's slowing down that person. Not like there's two people doing a job. You basically have a three-quarter of a person, because one person, even though he or she's listening, asking our questions, slowing down the regular person in his or her time to complete the task. So it takes a little longer. Make sure you do accommodation. That should be part of the training process, that when you have someone on the job training, the person who's doing the on the job training, his or her work has been modified to accommodate him or her training that individual. A review on the job practices. People should be trained how to be on the job trainers, and in different training managers and other people should be trained. And then make sure it's effectiveness. You have a training manual, you have a learning contract, you have a checklist that you should know these tasks by the first week, second week, before conducting on the job training with an employee. Make sure he or she has a basic ability to do that. Other training methods, simulation, case studies we talked about, business games, usually a management analyze it and come up with an idea. As you're taking some of the case studies, right now you're doing it individuals, or if you're doing it with a team. You're doing it with a team, you'll have someone that looks at each aspect of the case. So someone may have the managerial aspect, someone may have a psychology aspect, someone may have labor law, someone may have union aspect, and then you have these individuals on your team, and you're analyzing the case, and you're trying to find how would you resolve this case, and how would you minimize a negative output in the future, and turn this maybe into a positive or something that is manageable as a training mechanism. Principles of learning, employees, we have to most want to learn when training is linked to the current job experience. You can see this will move them up within the organization. This will help them be better employees. This will reduce stress on their job to help them have more time to work with clients or everything else because they're properly trained. Okay, I know there's a big issue now with Ebola going on there. I hear it on the nurses saying that, hey, we need additional training since these patients are coming in here. We're the first responders. How do we work on that? And that is a very valid. That's not, that's the extreme. But how about a company? I have a person coming in, you individual, are changing a task. I need trained to be able to take care of it. I got a new piece of equipment. Do they really know how to use that? Instead of the customer yelling, know what I mean? I don't know. It froze up on me. What did you do wrong? Okay. The trainees, understand what they need to be trained. Well-designed training program helps. Written materials. Has to be good written material. Step by step. In simplistic language. Don't make it too complicated for the task that the individual is doing. Let them see it. See pictures. Slow down. Here's one task. You should know this much. Review the information. And that's why you need someone that understands training, okay? Transfer the training, that's important. On the job usage, use the language there. Try to bring that transition from a person who has no skill sets or understanding and infuse that in that person and bring him on. But there has to be a transition, a slow process, so he or she learns the first task before they learn the next task. Look, you didn't learn how to add, to take algebra until you first learned how to add, and then you learned the fraction, then you learned a little bit about word problems, and then all of a sudden you brought it up to algebra, where it's just formulas that you know how to put the right equations or numbers to. Okay, outcomes, information that they know it, such as facts, techniques, procedures, or they know certain skills. Can they demonstrate this in tasks? If I'm looking at someone who knows how to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, they should be able to look at the dummy or something, breathe into it, put the head right, make sure you have enough compressions. Or if I look at someone who knows how to do Excel, they should be able to create spreadsheets, put in numbers on that, okay? And the last one is application of training. Use it to your orientation, new employees. Each employee depends on the diversity. You may have to adjust your training program to the culture, to the understanding, okay, and what are your objectives, making employees familiar with the organization's rules, policies, and procedures, okay. When you're looking at diversity of training, response to what? Equal opportunities, laws, and markets, okay. You have to make sure the employees about the diversity, develop skills needed to work in a diverse workplace, emphasize attitude of change and behavior change. Remember, a lot of the companies here, this is going to be something that's going forward. What are my objectives, tied to the business, emphasis, learning behavior and skills, not blaming employees. You weren't trained properly. Now that you're trained properly, you know how to handle these situations. Management, top management involved, training from the top down. Even top management should be involved in the training or coming out to a training session. That shows that the management is involved, and it means a lot that this is something important, because I want to make sure that you're trained well and well structured. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then this one is just an added page. I made a mistake. So that takes care of us for our, let me just bring this back down in here, and I'll bring this down to 150. So again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, Human Relationship Management. This is session 7, training employees, what you need to know about training. Training is of vital importance. A lot of individuals that are trainers understand the material properly. The issue is, how do I take what I know and transfer it to you, the student or the trainee or the mentoree, so he or she understands it and could take that knowledge. Just because I know it, remember we had teachers that had stats or calculus. They're up there doing 7 steps, very knowledgeable. I understand the word he or she was saying because they didn't know how to transfer their knowledge from me to understand the smaller chunks and my learning style and my understanding, my abilities, and how to take that new knowledge, and now I could actually do it, remember it, recall it, or at least have a good baseline so I could build on. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, so training is very important in HR. HR is looking at the skill sets and make sure that a person is prepared and ready for training, and training employees is part of human relationship management, and is and managers in every level of the discipline. Okay, so our next section when we'll talk is session 8, but for now I'll see you online or in another video. Thank you.